Hi friends, welcome to my channel Learning English Language and Literature. Well, this video is the part 2 of our class regarding these two topics, cultural studies and literary theory. So here we go. First we will see about post-structuralism. Post-structuralism, it is otherwise called American post-structuralism or deconstruction. Why it is called deconstruction is because here we can see how a text deconstructs itself. Deconstructs in the sense how a text cancels out its own meaning. Here we are not going to add anything outside from that text. Okay, so that's the main thing about deconstruction. Mainly this post-structuralism is the result of the failure of phenomenological criticism by Husserl. So this criticism failure leads to the birth of post-structuralism. Likewise, European deconstruction is the result of the failure of structuralism or structuralist theory. Okay, so these are some of the important points that we should know. Then, structuralism. What's the main difference between structuralism and post-structuralism? Is structuralism only focus on linguistics, but post-structuralism is a wide topic. It's also a philosophy. So, deconstructors. Already I told you, post-structuralism is otherwise called deconstruction. So here we have some of the main figures in this area. First one is Jacques Derrida. We will see about Derrida later. Then Paul G-Man and Hillis Miller. We will see some of the important terms given by these persons. First one is by Paul G-Man. He coined the term aporia. What do you mean by aporia? It is nothing but a kind of a textual knot. It may include a paradox, irony, shifts, gaps, something like that. What this textual knot will do is, it will create some sense of doubt or dilemma. It will create some contradiction. For example, we have this famous line from Animal Farm, right? All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than the others. So in that example, we can see how the meaning cancel out. Okay, if all animals are equal, then how can they say some animals are more equal? So that may take as an example for this textual knot. Then we have Hillis Miller. He coined the term floating signifier. Okay, floating in the sense we cannot get any stable meaning out of the language, the sign. That means the signifier is always floating. That means language is always a mystery. That's what he tried to convey by this word, floating signifier. So what's the assumption of this deconstructor is we are not in control of the linguistic system. We are not in control of language because the sign will always be floating. Okay. So what's the problem with structuralism? Actually, structuralism become a failure. Why so is because structuralism is all about linguistics. If you are not in control of this linguistic system, then how this theory become a successful one? So that's the point that leads to the failure of structuralism. So here we have the main difference between structuralism and post-structuralism. First, structuralism, tone and style. Here we can find the coolness. Coolness in the sense structuralists mostly generalize things. Okay, so they always maintain this coolness throughout that. But in post-structuralism, we will find the tone will be warmth. Okay, so here we can see lots of puns and allusions. Then attitude towards language. In structuralism, they view language as the language is the access to reality. To them, language is everything. But in post-structuralism, they view language as a linguistic anxiety. Okay, that means language meaning is always floating. Okay. Then post-structuralism emerged after 1960s in France. Okay. Then here we have the two important figures, Roland Barthes and Derrida. Already we saw about Roland Barthes in structuralism too. Barthes, actually he was a structuralist first and later he moved to post-structuralism with the essay called The Death of the Author. So in this essay we can find the death of the author by the birth of the reader. When the reader tried to get a meaning, their own meaning out of the text, the author become a dead one. Okay, the author become dead. So that's all about this book, this essay, The Death of the Author. So this essay marks the transition of Roland Barthes from structuralist to post-structuralism. Then Jacques Derrida, he is a philosopher. His famous lecture is called Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of the Human Science. Why this essay is this lecture is famous is because in that lecture he did a deconstructive reading, and by that he clearly illustrates how the text becomes centerless. That means the base of the text comes to a question. So from that only we get this term decentering universe. The text becomes centerless. Okay. Then his most important book is called Of Grammatology. In that it is just about what he will say is there is nothing outside the text. Okay, deconstruction happens within the text itself. This book is always about the post-structuralism as a whole. So what a post-structuralist task or method is to do a deconstructive reading. They just try to deconstruct the text. Deconstructing, how they will deconstruct is by reading against the grain or reading against the text itself. By that, they just try to reveal the unconscious meaning that is hidden in the text. So we can say deconstruction is not a destruction but only an analysis of a text. In structuralism, what a structuralist will do is they will look for parallels, echoes and reflection to show the unity in the text. But in post-structuralism, it is completely opposite. What they will do is they will look for gaps, breaks and shifts to show the disunity in the text. Okay, so that's what I mean by post-structuralism as a whole. So process of deconstruction. This deconstruction involves three processes. First one is called verbal level or surface level. In this first level, we will look for paradoxes or conflicts in the text. Second one is called textual level. Here we will look for shifts and breaks. Then third level is called linguistic level. Here we can see the adequacy of language comes to a question. So it is all about the unworthiness of a language. So these are the process of deconstruction. So here we have some important names of post-structuralists. First one is Roland Barthes, Derrida and Foucault. Actually these three persons were structuralists first, later they turned themselves to post-structuralism. Then we have Gilles, Judith Butler, Jean Baudrillard, Julia Kristeva and Habermas. If you want to know some extra information about this person, you can search by yourself. So in conclusion, post-structuralism is all about plurality. That means it gives importance to the plural meaning within the text. Okay, only by that deconstruction will happen. Then, diachronic in nature. It gives importance to the past and the history of the text, which is completely opposite to structuralism. The next point, leads to postmodernism, not synonymous. So we can find many similarities between these two topics, postmodernism and post-structuralism, but both are not synonymous at all. And finally, existential phenomenology. Existential phenomenology is the major influence of this post-structuralism. So we can also call this post-structuralist as post-phenomenologist. So that's all about post-structuralism or deconstruction. So in my next video, I'm going to share about modernism and postmodernism. Well, thanks for watching. Kindly don't forget to subscribe to my channel Learning English Language and Literature.